President Trump says Iran has stopped killing anti-government protesters and has no more plans to hold executions. The regime was expected to begin those today, starting with this 26-year-old shopkeeper. Human rights groups say his hanging has been postponed, but it's not clear what happens next. Earlier at the White House, President Trump said he plans to keep a close eye on Iran's next move.
We have been informed by very important sources on the other side, and they've said the killing has stopped and the executions won't take place. There were supposed to be a lot of executions today, and that the executions won't take place, and we're going to find out.
Matt Gertken joins us now. He's the chief geopolitical strategist at BCA Research. Thank you for being here. If Iran does stop killing protesters, what does that tell you about its reaction to these recent threats?
Hi, Lindsay. Well, thanks very much for having me. That would imply that the regime is aware of the immense risk that they face. They have a crumbling economy, very high inflation. They're beset by enemies abroad, Israel and the United States, willing to strike them, such as last year, the nuclear program. So this is an extremely dangerous juncture for them. The best approach is for them to try to appease the protesters and promise economic reform and offer some personnel rotation in the government, and just try to pacify this unrest and also not get attacked by the United States. And so if that's what they're actually doing here, then it would show that they're backing down and trying to salvage what could become a real direct threat to the regime.
But with the president now holding off on military action, it looks like, does this mean that the regime has a stronger hand to play here, or have they been weakened so much that there's no turning back from this?
It's very difficult. They're humiliated. Think about it this way. Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, spent years and years, decades really, building up taxpayer money, spending it on a network of militant proxies around the region and a nuclear program. That nuclear program was wiped out almost effortlessly last year by Israel and the U.S. And then, of course, there's nothing to show for this network of militant proxies. There's no regional empire. And then meanwhile, like I said, 50% inflation. So you've got this domestic misery. And where did the wealth go? Where did the resources go? It went to build an empire that doesn't exist. It's terrible for the regime. This is an 86-year-old leader who everyone knows is going to have to move on. And so it's hard for the regime to gain any credibility right now at all.
I also want to ask you about Greenland. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with the foreign ministers from Greenland and Denmark today. And the officials say they have fundamental differences with the U.S. over the future of the island. How do you see NATO navigating this?
Yeah, well, look, I just wrote a report on the 250-year birthday of the United States of America. When you look at the really big picture in the long run, the spread of the United States across North America, both in terms of territory and influence, is an inexorable process. So even as much as it's a surprise that Greenland is coming up in this way, and the administration has been very hurtful toward the allies and its rhetoric, a purchase is something that can be negotiated, and it would have to pass Congress, and the president only has a one-seat majority for his party in Congress. So the Danes might be willing to negotiate, and they might seek to prolong that negotiation until a future administration, and then maybe American fervor would sort of subside. But over the long run, it is the case that the U.S. expands its influence. But I would say that if the U.S. seizes the territory using its de facto military superiority, then that would be a death knell for NATO, because it would shatter the faith in the alliance and it would force the Europeans to provide for their own security.
Matt Gertken, thank you.